Saquon Barkley is rewriting history. With 2,151 rushing yards within reach, he's on pace to break Eric Dickerson's long-standing NFL rushing record. You would think a team would value such a game-changing talent. The New York Giants certainly didn't. So why did the Giants make the grave mistake of letting him go? Why have some other explosive, talented, and productive running backs had to change homes? Let's start with Saquon, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Born on February 7, 1997, Saquon Barkley grew up in a small town, living the kind of childhood that many small-town kids do. But Copley isn't exactly the kind of place that churns out football stars. Despite that, Barkley was surrounded by a family of athletes. His father, Alibay, was a boxer, and his uncle, Iran Barkley, a professional champion in the same discipline. It was clear from early on that competitive spirit ran deep in his veins. Initially, Barkley wasn't a standout. He was just another kid trying to make his mark in youth leagues, but his talent started shining through as he grew older. By the time he transferred to Whitehall High School, people began noticing the explosive athlete who could sprint past defenders like they weren't even there. College scouts couldn't ignore him for long. When Penn State came knocking, Barkley answered, and the fit was perfect. Under head coach James Franklin, Saquon flourished. Over 3 seasons, he became a household name in college football. From hurdling defenders to breaking long runs, Barkley wasn't just good, he was electrifying. In his junior year, he tallied 1,903 all-purpose yards and 21 touchdowns, cementing his status as one of the most dynamic players in the country. When it came time for the NFL draft in 2018, there was no doubt Barkley was a top-tier prospect. Analysts debated whether the Giants should take a quarterback with their 2nd overall pick, but they chose Barkley, betting on his generational talent. At the time, it seemed like a smart move. A player like Saquon doesn't come around often. Saquon Barkley burst onto the NFL scene like a lightning bolt in his rookie season. He racked up an impressive 1,307 rushing yards, caught 91 passes for 721 receiving yards, and scored 15 total touchdowns. It wasn't just the numbers, it was the jaw-dropping way he played. Barkley delivered highlight reel moments week after week with jukes that left defenders grasping at air and breakaway speed that turned routine plays into long touchdowns. By the end of the season, he was named the 2018 Offensive Rookie of the Year, and it seemed the Giants had struck gold with their 2nd overall pick. But the honeymoon didn't last. The Giants as a team were a disaster. They struggled to build a competitive roster and repeatedly failed to surround Barkley with the talent he needed to thrive. On top of that, injuries began to take their toll. In 2020, Barkley suffered a devastating ACL tear, and while he fought valiantly to return to form, he wasn't the same explosive player immediately. The flashes of greatness were still there, but the consistency wasn't. By the time Barkley's rookie contract was nearing its end, the situation had deteriorated. The Giants weren't ready to commit to a big payday for a running back, especially in a league increasingly hesitant to invest in the position. They took the safe route, placing the franchise tag on Barkley in 2023, but refusing to negotiate a long-term deal. The message was clear. To them, Barkley was replaceable. For a player who had given everything to the franchise, it was a bitter pill to swallow, and the relationship began to sour. Writing was on the wall. Barkley's time in New York was coming to an end. The NFL has become a quarterback-driven league, and running backs, no matter how talented, often find themselves undervalued and overlooked. Saquon Barkley wasn't alone in feeling the sting of this reality. Even guys like Derrick Henry and Josh Jacobs, some of the most dominant backs in recent years, have faced similar struggles as their teams questioned their worth. Henry, after years of carrying the Tennessee Titans, saw hesitation from the franchise that had heavily leaned on him for so long. Many doubted whether he could find success elsewhere, but he proved them wrong, thriving in a fresh system and silencing skeptics. Josh Jacobs experienced a similar resurgence, revitalizing his career after the Raiders appeared ready to move on. These cases remind us that elite running backs, when placed in the right environment, can still thrive and elevate their teams in ways that go beyond the stat sheet. For Saquon Barkley, the challenge was even steeper. He wasn't just coming off a rocky stint with the Giants. He was battling the perception that running backs are easily replaceable, no matter how elite their talent. When the Giants let him walk, many assumed his best days were behind him, but his opportunity came in the most unlikely of places. The Philadelphia Eagles, his former team's bitter division rival. With a fresh start and a chance to prove his doubters wrong, Saquon didn't just rise to the challenge. He redefined what an elite running back could mean to a team. If ever there was a player who needed a fresh start, it was Saquon Barkley. And what better stage than the high-powered Philadelphia Eagles? They recognized his worth, paid him accordingly, and built their offense around his unique skill set. From the moment he donned the Eagles' green jersey, it was like a switch flipped. This season, Barkley hasn't just been good, he's been unstoppable. He's rewriting record books, currently on pace for 2,151 rushing yards, a number that would shatter Eric Dickerson's single-season record. With 12 touchdowns already to his name, he leads the league in nearly every rushing category. And it's not just about the numbers, it's how he's doing it. Barkley is ripping off 70-yard runs like they're routine, stiff-arming defenders into oblivion, and carrying the Eagles to victory week after week. The impact on the Eagles has been immeasurable. Quarterback Jalen Hurts looks more comfortable with Barkley easing the pressure. The offensive line is blocking better, fueled by the chance to pave the way for greatness. Even the defense seems sharper, feeding off the energy Barkley brings. The Eagles have now transformed into one of the league's most balanced and dangerous offenses right in front of our eyes. Barkley's success is a stark reminder of why elite running backs still matter. In an era where analytics and salary cap concerns often undervalue the position, players like Saquon are proving their worth. They're not just runners, they're game changers, leaders, and culture shifters. The Giants' decision not to pay Barkley looks worse with each passing week. They bet on cheaper, less dynamic options to replace him. Now, they're stuck watching their former star power their biggest rival towards the top of the NFC. Meanwhile, Eagles fans are reveling in the brilliance of the league's most electrifying player. This season isn't just about stats or even awards for Barkley, though he's firmly in the MVP conversation. It's about redemption. It's about proving to himself, his doubters, and the league that he's more than a great player stuck on a bad team. He's a once-in-a-generation talent who needed the right opportunity to shine. Barkley's story echoes those of Derrick Henry and Josh Jacobs, elite backs undervalued by their original teams, only to thrive elsewhere. But his journey feels even more personal. He wasn't just doubted by any team, he was doubted by the franchise that drafted him and that he gave everything to. His resurgence with the Eagles is the ultimate "I told you so." They'll be watching from home as Barkley chases history, perhaps an MVP award, and maybe even a Super Bowl ring. So what are your thoughts on this? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget that subscribe button.